guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, a little bit of what I like to call factor cap, courtesy of TikTok for showing me that phrase. But today we're going to do some true myth busting with my 246,000 mile sport track and oil. So, about 5 or 6 months ago, while this thing was still blown up partially and being complicated, I was on the forums one day researching the 4.0 timing chain rattle, curious to see ways I could save money but also get a fix done that way, or at least buy a lot of time so that I won't be having to spend money on a new 4-liter anytime soon, because quite frankly I don't have the money nor the desire to invest the money to put a new motor in this thing. So getting as much life as I can out of it is kind of my goal. So I started researching, and one thing I came across was a mechanic posted on the Explorer forums about a trick that he did that actually was able to silence the chains. Now, the thing is though, is there was a bit of conflict in that forum, as everyone agreed that it does silence the chains, but that it isn't a true fix. And that I'm okay with as long as it buys me time. I've got external tensioners ready to go for this thing that we have yet to install, which are of course underneath the driver's side valve cover and on the back side of the engine. And I'm going to do those eventually. I was really hoping I could get it done at the same time as this, but I don't have a lot of time to spare because I'm working so much. And today was kind of the only day I could get this done because the truck's already over a considerable bit on an oil change, especially in terms of time frame, because most people, they change oil around 6 months or 3,000 miles, whichever one comes first. This thing was gone for 6 months, and it was like 200 miles away from the change interval. So the oil in this thing is probably ready to be retired, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick oil change, and then I got a work meeting this evening, which I'm going to be going to, and I'm hopeful to have this thing ready because, funny enough, my assistant manager at work, who I'm pretty good friends with now, has never actually been able to ride around with me in this thing. He's ridden it pretty much to the McDonald's that's next door to where I work, and that's about as much as it goes. The dude's really awesome. He's got a full bolt-on 350Z HR, so hopefully we'll get to do some fun with that. I'm going to bring the head strap with me to the meeting so that we will be able to get my first reactions to this trick, as well as just enjoy the day and cruise around with him later this evening on our way back to our houses, because he lives literally 5 minutes away from me. But, so let's talk about this trick that has been talked about in the forums, and that is switching from 5W30 to 10W40. And the mechanic in particular recommended AMSOIL, so I went and spent $85, plus, which includes shipping by the way, on some AMSOIL 10W40 synthetic. Now you guys remember, I already switched the truck to synthetic last oil change, and I went with Castrol. So going with AMSOIL is completely new for me. I've known that AMSOIL is kind of like, you know, the god tier oil. So I'm really excited to get to try this stuff out myself and see if this fix truly is worth it. Of course, they also mentioned that pretty much any brand 10W40 synthetic should work, but since the mechanic specifically said AMSOIL, I figured I'd give it a shot with exactly what he did and how this worked for him. He said he drove around for about 3 miles after the oil change, and that is when the death rattle actually went away. For those who don't know what death rattle is, it is probably the #1 cause of people losing interest in sport tracks throughout their lifetime. It was a huge problem for any 4-liter power truck, Gen 1 and even Gen 2s, and pretty much the first 3 model years of Gen 1s in particular were the most volatile for timing chain failure, most specifically 2001, 2002. 2003, I believe I read, I'll see if I can put the forum post on screen where I saw the model year ranges. I believe 03 is when they came up with the updated design, and this actually would feature that updated design. They say 2010, which is ironically enough, most of Ford's final years with the 4.0, especially in the Mustang, and the Explorer chassis, those were the final years of the 4.0, and they say that that was the very best one in terms of timing chain components. So in fact, I was recommended when I rebuilt this engine, when I was originally planning on doing that, to go with 2010 timing chain parts. That way this motor would have the highest chance of survival. Granted, this one has served me well. This one's got 246K on the clock. I got it at 213, and ironically enough, that wasn't even when the death rattle started for me. My death rattle started about 216, 217, so I got quite a few thousand miles out of it before I started doing that. But today we're just going to be doing a quick oil change to solve this and see if this guy is either fact or he's capping hard on this, because I really want to get this experience. I want to see exactly how this works and see if we can go home at the end of the day with with one less noise coming out of this motor. You guys have seen, I've done all sorts of tricks to try to silence this, whether it be seafoam and other stuff outside of replacing those mechanical parts like those tensioners. And this is kind of the very last thing before those new external tensioners that show up in the last video go into the truck. Now I'm not going to record the entire thing. I've done already 2 oil change videos, if not more than that, on this truck since I got it. So I don't intend on recording the entire process. Pretty much I'm going to end this clip, then we're going to go to first start, and then we're going to let it idle outside for a little while, and then we'll go out and drive later this evening to my work meeting. I will record that, and we will see how this thing reacts in full force. But let's get started. All right, guys. That was a nightmare and a half, but we are done. First oil change since the fire happened, and it did okay. Oddly enough, my drain plug was extremely tight. Like, I'm not the strongest guy in the world. Even when I was a football player, I was a defensive lineman, I was not very strong upper arm wise, and that was very difficult to take off. And I mean, I was having like feet planted, holding the frame, yank it as hard as I could, and I still could not get that drain plug off. I had to actually use a mallet, which is why there's a mallet on the floor, to tap it a little bit and then go crazy, and then it finally came off. I cussed at it a little bit, as I always do. And then the oil filter came right off, no problem. And the thing I was checking was to see if it double sealed. There had always been a suspicious kind of drip coming from that area, and I was very concerned about it being an oil leak. And in fact, after the fire, B's Garage, the shop that rebuilt this truck, actually noted that the oil filter was slightly loose. So either I didn't get it on that tight, or I stripped the threads on the filter, or something of that nature. I was being very, very delicate and very careful when I installed this new filter, which is the same one as the K&N HP 2010. I really like the K&N filters. They're my favorite oil filters by far for this truck that I've used. I've had Fram on here. After I saw that whole thing happen with Fram a couple years back, I strayed away from it, and I've gone to K&N. Plus it's just easy to get off. I don't need an oil filter wrench, because the oil filter's in such a weird spot on these. Just really high up, you don't have a lot of room to get to them. So having the stud on the K&N really helps. But I'm nervous because I'm hoping this is it. That after almost 4 years, that this thing will shut up in terms of the chain rattle, and I'll be okay. I'm scared to see how the first few turns of the engine are going to go, because this on the cold weight, which is the 5 or 10 in this case, it is double the thickness. And the warm weight, I believe, is this where the 30 or 40 is. I might be wrong. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it is, whether the 30 or 40 is the cold weight or if it's not warm weight. It is thicker all the way around. And while I know this has been done in other sport tracks, it still terrifies me because of this one always being on 530. But anyway, I guess let's not beat around the bush, and let's see how this goes. Since I got it. That is silent. Outside of the one noisy, like ticking kind of sound that's always done. I think that's just a fuel injector though. But no chain rattle. Not an ounce of chain rattle. I fully expected it in the fact that one, it had sat, and two, 10, 20, about 30 minutes ago, there was no oil in this thing at all. Let's back it out of the driveway though, and we'll see how it does outside. That one for a minute. I do smell where I spilled it a little bit. All right, so yeah, it's burning off a little bit of the oil that I had spilt. I had spilt quite a little bit actually, but that is the quietest this thing has ever run. No more ching, 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 ching. That noise is that repetitive rhythmic noise it's always made. No clattering. All right, I think that was fast. I don't think that was cap. But I'm kind of just watching, making sure we don't have any leaks coming in from underneath around the oil filter area. That was my main worry. Like I said, we still have some sort of noisy tick. So I think that is actually related to the fuel injectors, which I am starting to get suspect of a little bit. I'm just gonna let idle for a minute, kind of just monitor it, make sure we're not leaking anything, and then later this evening we'll go out for a little ride and we'll see just how it does. Oil pressure is doing just fine. In fact, I think it's actually slightly higher than it typically is at cold start. Those are running great. Dude, I'm stoked. That's huge. What can I say? But all right, I'm really excited about that. Like I said, I'm just gonna monitor it for a few minutes, put the camera down, make sure it's all okay, and then later this evening, we're gonna go out for a little ride and have some fun with it. Guys, time to test and see how this all went. I drove all the way out here and we did just fine. We'll see how we do going home. It's pretty quiet though. I'm not having any major issues out of it so far at least, but can never be too sure. Fortunately, my manager got ahead of me, so I did not get to get the shots I wanted with him on his car, his Z, but I got the rest of the work crew in front of me, so they still get to hear me rumble down the road. But no new rattles to report or anything. It seems like it still wants to do like the occasional little baby rattle during acceleration, but I'm hoping that getting some miles on it in there will ease that up a little bit. But yeah, so far so good. It's driven just fine. Ready to get this thing back moving. Yeah, she sounds mean today. She's ready to go. Yeah, she's doing just fine right now. This thing is just so smooth and quiet now. It is one of the best things to happen to me in this thing. Oops, someone's getting pulled over. That sucks. RIP the boy or girl. I don't know what was going on there. I actually hope that wasn't one of my coworkers. All right, so we're back. My girlfriend called. Gonna make sure she's doing okay, of course. But yeah, she is just smooth as can be right now. Like, I'm really happy with how this all turned out. And yeah, I guess it's fact. it had I had like a couple of little baby rattles when I was on my way to the meeting. But again, I expected that. I expected it to be a little temperamental, you know, mid-high RPM. It hasn't gotten to circulate that high in the rev range yet. So I took my time with it, kind of just babied it, gave it a little bit of gas. I mean, I wasn't beating the brakes off it. I haven't really been hard on this thing since I got it back, just out of paranoia. But it's doing really well. I'm really happy with it. That works. So for those that own a Sport Track and or any other Ford 4-liter single overhead cam engine car and are struggling with the timing chain death rattle, look into possibly using 10W40 and full synthetic, of course, instead of, you know, 5W30. That may actually help silence the issue. Again, because I know someone's going to comment it, this is not a actual permanent fix for those bad tensioners. This is a band-aid fix that is meant to silence it and possibly buy you more time before you start having those timing chain failures. Of course, if you start noticing it, go ahead and get those tensioners replaced. A lot of mechanics are also going to recommend getting a new engine put in, but it is actually cheaper to do that in a lot of markets. But to make sure that you're doing it right, you're taking care of these things. 4.0s are temperamental and can be a little bit fragile, so be easy with them, take good care of them, and they'll take good care of you. But let's go for a ride though. A little bit of an evening drive never hurt anybody, especially when you're coming back from work and you got a fun drive ahead of you. This is one of my favorite routes. There's not even a lot of like traffic out right now, which is nice. The silence, no noise. Let's see here. Can't hear it. I think it's still barely there, the baby rattle, but you can't really tell, and I'm pretty sure as I put my miles on it, I'm gonna notice it less. I'm just so happy with how this thing's doing right now. Like, it's so great having enough money to take care of this thing. It's been so hard throughout my, you know, life I've owned this truck, being able to take care of it and give it the life I've wanted to give it. I've had to make so many compromises and sacrifices when it comes to the care of this truck, and now that I have the income to support taking good care of this thing's gonna be a whole new truck, and who knows, maybe it will permanently earn its spot in my collection. You know, I said in the update video that there was a chance that once I got a new daily driver to take to work once I get out of school, that this would find somewhere else to go. I want to clarify on that if I can get the room to hold on to it, I will do it. I will hang on to this thing. This truck's very special to me. It's got a lot of history and a lot of heritage with me, and a lot of my life and my YouTube career has been driven through this truck. So of course, if I can get the opportunity to hold on to this for the rest of my life, possibly pass this down to my own kids one day if I so desire to have kids, that's kind of a goal for me. That'd be awesome to let the Sport Track be the next big like family heirloom. I mean, that would just be great. But anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. I'm not gonna be doing any pulls. It's 9 at night. I don't want to be that guy ripping it up at 9:30 at night. Stay tuned for more content coming soon, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this video just as much as I've enjoyed making it. And yeah, 10W40. It is the silencer of the death rattle. See you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, rest of your month. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys. Have a freaking fantastic day.